Welcome to The Shoreline, brought to you by Shores and Islands, Ohio, where finding your Lake Erie love is a sure thing. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Jill Bauer, PR Manager for Shores and Islands, Ohio. We bring you The Shoreline every week to give you the inside scoop on what's happening here in our island and coastal communities. June episodes of The Shoreline are brought to you by the Sandusky Pedal Company. Ready to ride, laugh, and sip your way through downtown Sandusky? Hop on the Sandusky Pedal Company's 14-person party bike. Cruise the lakeshore, enjoy your favorite drinks, and make memories with friends and family. Book your ride today at sanduskypedal.com. Summer is now in full swing, and our events calendar is absolutely packed. If you're not checking out the events tab at shoresandislands.com, you may be missing out on some good times. Community and cultural events are a great reason to visit or a fun add-on to any visit. They allow you to explore and experience the region in new ways and really get an appreciation for our neighborhoods and local traditions. I've recently posted our July and August event highlights, the major events, to our blog if you want a good place to start. 15 of the region's best for the upcoming months are featured there. Additionally, did you know that we have new sample itineraries on our website? If you want to come to visit, but you're not sure where to start, our itineraries that inspire will help you plan the perfect getaway. There are different multi-day itineraries for families, couples, friends, and more. Just go to shoresandislands.com and click on the Plan Your Visit tab. Then select itineraries that inspire from the drop-down menu that follows. Today's guest is actually included on one of those itineraries as an energizing restaurant stop. I mean, you gotta refuel during all your Shores and Islands adventures, right? Our special guest is Steven Schuster, a dedicated local restaurateur whose passion for people and place shines through everything he does. Guided by the mantra, eat, drink, think local, Steve has built a business rooted in community connection, strong partnerships, and a deep commitment to hospitality. His support of fellow businesses, charitable causes, and his own team has made a lasting impact across the Shores and Islands region. So much so that we recently awarded Steve with a Shore Award for superior hospitality at our 2025 annual meeting. We're excited to talk to him today about how local values can create unforgettable experiences. Welcome to the Shoreline, Steve.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm honored. And your voice is perfect for this. I don't know if you know that. But.
As you know, I've been doing this for a while, before podcasts were even a thing.
Right? You have the perfect podcast voice for sure.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Well, so Steve and I actually have a history. We used to see each other weekly at a local radio station, and so much so that they made their whole segment food and fun. Steve would come on and talk about food, and then I would come on and talk about fun. So I, learned from the best. That's where I got my experience there at the local radio station. So shout out to Cammie Moon for teaching me how to do this. So it's been great. So thank you, Steve. Well, let's start with your story. I want to hear a little bit about your journey. I know your family has a long history in the area as far as restaurants go. What led you to continue that, to keep the restaurants going, and for you personally to enter into the world of restaurants?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was pretty early on. I realized the restaurant business had a certain pace and a certain cadence to it that I really, really just enjoyed. I love the action. I love the activity. And it was just a lot of fun. So I started working at my dad's restaurant when I was 12. He bought it in 1966. I was born in 68. So the restaurant predates me. And by the time I was 12, I started working and really just liked it. Loved the pace, loved the atmosphere, loved everything about it. Worked all the way through high school, worked my way. I started as a car parker, so I would have to point to where people would park. And for those locals, that know the area, the original Perkins Pancake House was where Danny Boy's is now. My dad still owns that building. But parking was always a challenge. We were the only restaurant between the Turnpike and Cleveland Road. And so certainly we had a lot of traffic in those days, and I would have to point to where cars would park. From there, I got promoted to busboy. There's not too many people in the world who were promoted to busboy. And then from there, promoted to dishwasher. So I really had some really strong first steps, but then cooked my way all the way through high school and through college. And when I was in college, I have my degrees in marketing, and I had this big interview with Procter and Gamble, and it was a big deal that I got this interview, and I'm sitting there at this interview, and I'm going on trying to give him all my best stuff. And the guy's probably now, I mean, at the time he was an old man, but now he's probably my age. He kind of lays back, and this was in 1990, lays back in his seat and he takes a drag off his cigarette and he says, "Steve, I've been doing this for a long time." He's like, I can pass you through. You can go into brand management. You can see if this is what you really want. He said, "But I've done this long enough. You need to be in the restaurant business." And I really think back to that moment, and it was such a life-changing conversation because, at the time I thought everything that I was doing was to get into brand management and to go that route. But when he said that, it really kind of stuck home. I'm like, "Well, what makes you say that?" He's like, "We've been talking for an hour and a half and you've talked about restaurants the entire time." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." So it was pretty cool, a cool moment for me. After college, I went and worked for a chain called The Cooker, which was out of Columbus, Ohio. And I was in the Cincinnati market and got married to my wife, Valerie, and jumped around from Cincinnati to Toledo to Detroit and then to Indianapolis. And then once I got to Indianapolis,
That was all with The Cooker?
All with The Cooker.
Okay.
And then I was promoted to regional manager. And I had 2 in Indianapolis, 2 in Memphis. And then I had Evansville, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I flew around like 200,000 miles a year, upgraded to first class, all that stuff. But that was really kind of wearing on me. And, Valerie and I were at the point where we were ready to have children. My dad got ill in the end of 1997. And then at the beginning of 98, we made the decision we were ready to settle down, have kids. And we came home and bought the Pancake House off my dad.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of how we ended up in the market. I'm pleased to say, just to put a bow on that story, that my dad is well and alive and should have never survived what he did, but he did. And it's, 26 years later, and he's still kicking it. So all is well with that.
Yeah, maybe a part of that is the fact that you did come home and take over and take a little bit of that stress off of him. And I'm sure there's a sense of pride for him as well. I was going to ask, what were his feelings when you went into the restaurant business? Was he excited that you were joining, or was he like, "No, don't do this"?
Yeah, don't do this. His exact words were, it's a license to slave. And, that you were stuck and you were a slave to your restaurants. But I still loved it. I loved every bit of it. And I still, even today, still love it. Still love the intensity of it all.
Well, so I don't want to focus too much on the Cooker franchise, but I do think it's very cool that you are continuing to serve some of those proprietary Cooker recipes. Can you tell me a little bit about how that came to be?
Sure. So, as I said, I left the Cooker in 98, and the Cooker then went bankrupt in 2004. So well after my time. But anyone I would ever tell, so they closed, I think, 70 restaurants in one day. I mean, it was a tragic story. You never want to see that, where chains come out on the doors and things get locked up. Well, Cooker had so many raving fans out there. They had, whether it was the Cooker biscuits, the meatloaf, the pot roast, the spinach dip, the ribs. People loved the product, and it was never the food or the service that was the downfall of the restaurant. It was just poor financial decisions and poor real estate decisions. So the restaurants always operated at a very, very high level. Well, so they went bankrupt in 2004. And for 3 years, when I would tell people I used to work for the Cooker and I was a regional manager, they would say, "Oh my gosh, I love the Cooker." They'd go on and on and on and on and on.
I miss those biscuits.
Right. So much so that I looked into, well, what would it take to buy the intellectual property out of the bankruptcy courts? So 3 years after the bankruptcy, and most all the debtors were satisfied, and they sold whatever real estate was worth anything. So they were down to just basically the intellectual property. So I put a low bid number on the intellectual property, the recipes, the trademarks, the names, And I bought it. I bought it out of bankruptcy and sat on it for years. Flash forward to, 2009, 2010. I owned a Max and Irma's, and Max and Irma's went into bankruptcy. Chipotle knocked at my door and said, hey, we hear you're in bankruptcy. I'm like, well, I'm not in bankruptcy. They're in bankruptcy. And they said, well, we really like your site. We like your building. We'd like to rent out half your building. So I'm like, okay, that's another life-changing moment. It's funny that here we are talking about these life-changing moments. And, when Chipotle knocks at your door, you listen. And so we split the building in half with the idea that I would put Max and Irma's on the other half. Well, so Chipotle moved in. I got the restaurant set to go on the other half. Well, Max and Irma's was then bought out of bankruptcy, and the new owner said, we're not really interested in the smaller footprint. We're not interested in having that. Well,
right. They had lost the space. Yeah.
Yeah. So I left. So now I had a restaurant with no concept to put in there. So we actually invented the cooker into that small space. And we ran that for about 2 years. And it's amazing, what we did in a short amount of time. We learned so much. We were aggressive. We created a scratch menu. I mean, we did all these things that really helped prepare me for where I am today.
Exactly.
And, I would not have known that. And it just shows you that God put you in the right place at the right time to learn the right things. And at the time, we struggled for 2 years and just kind of broke even. So then I leased out the space and was able to make money off of it from a landlord perspective as opposed from a restaurant perspective. Mm-hmm. Well, then when we decided to leave Perkins in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, that's where I came up with the concept here for the Sandusky Bay Pancake House. And everything I learned from the cooker and that cooker experience, I was able to apply as we converted over to Sandusky Bay Pancake House.
Well, perfect segue, because I wanted to know about that. So you took over your dad's Perkins franchise, mm-hmm. and I wanted to kind of know, so what was the impetus to, what inspired that change to get out of the franchise business and start your own? So now I know, knowing the story of the cooker kind of helps with that a little bit. But so you mentioned that this kind of happened at the offset of COVID. So did that buy into it? Is that kind of part of why you went that way?
Exactly. I'll rewind just a little bit before that. So Perkins, my agreement was going to expire with Perkins in the end of 2023. Perkins wanted me in 2019. They had this big remodel initiative, and they wanted me to put $250,000 into the building to make it look like all the Perkins throughout the nation. And I'm like, guys, listen, my agreement's coming to the end. It doesn't make any sense for me to put $250,000 into something when my agreement's up in 2023. They're like, oh no, we'll extend it. We'll give you a free extension. I'm like, no, when it's over, I'm done. I'm ready to go out on my own and do my own thing. And, I'll be a good franchisee until the end of 23. I'll do everything, that I've always done over the years, but I'm not putting money into the building to make it look like a Perkins, only then to put money into it
to eventually remodel it anyway. Yeah. Right.
So I said, and they kept pushing. They're like, okay, and then we also want you to upgrade your POS system. I'm like, you guys, same answer. I'm not going to do it.
You were already looking ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I said, why don't we just talk about an exit strategy? Why don't we talk about, listen, we've been here for 50 years, 53 years at that time. Why don't we talk about an exit strategy? How about we'll figure out, how do you let me out of the agreement? We'll be done of each other. We'll shake hands. We'll be friends, and we'll part company. And we had a few conversations. Well, those conversations kind of went completely quiet at the end of 2019, and they stopped returning my calls altogether. So I was like, oh, geez, now what am I going to do? I mean, I know I'm not going to remodel anything. I know I'm not going to put money into anything, but what am I really going to do? Well, then COVID hit, right? So we're on a vacation. This is funny because we're like, it was before any of the shutdowns or anything. We had a vacation plan for like that second week in March. And we're like, do we go? Do we not go? Things are getting a little hairy. And so we said, no, we're going to go. We've had this vacation on the books. So we're going. We have all these wipes, right? We get on the plane and we're wiping everything down and we're trying to be good. And then there's like two people on the plane wearing a mask and we're like laughing like, look at those crazy people. They're wearing masks over there. Like, what,
Who'd have thought?
So, I mean, we're totally like, we get there, we're on vacation, and I'm sitting in this cabana overlooking the ocean. It was beautiful. It was great, having a good time. Both my daughters are there, my wife. We're having a good time. And I happen to be on my laptop, just doing some light work, catching up on some emails, whatever. And I get this call from my manager on a Sunday afternoon. And she says, the governor shut us down. He's shutting us down at 9:00 tonight. I'm like, what are you talking about?
What do you mean shutting us down?
Yeah, shutting us down. What are you saying? So she's explaining it to me. And again, it's one of those moments, those life-changing moments. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How do we handle this? And I'm thinking, okay, well, we got a truck coming tomorrow morning. It's a $5,000 truck. I don't want to pay $5,000 for food I don't need, so I got to cancel that truck. I mean, just like all the logistics,
right,
like, are what hits you first of what do you have to do? What do you have to cancel? Who do you call off? Things like that. So, and of course, I'm in Florida trying to do this. So then our flight was the next morning. So I'm kind of peeing down my leg that whole night. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? So I'm trying to do all the little things first. So we get on the plane, we get back, by the time we're back, it's late Monday afternoon and we're into the shutdown. It's like, okay, so I take that. Now I'm setting up, how do we do to-go food? And like, that's going to be our model. How do we do this? And then by Wednesday morning, I'm thinking, no one's going to get to-go food for breakfast. They're going to get cereal. They're going to get waffles at home.
Yeah.
Like they might get some.
Maybe once a week. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, this is not sustainable. So on that Wednesday is when it hit me like, oh, this is my exit. Like, how do I use this to my advantage to get out? And again, God putting in the right place at the right time, really allowed me to, I think, open my eyes and say, Perkins started laying people off. That puts them in violation of the franchise agreement. Now, all of a sudden, I get a little bit of leverage, or how many Perkins are going to close? I mean, at the time, there were about 400 Perkins. In my mind, I'm thinking there's got to be 100 Perkins that are going to close.
I'm an easy one to shut down. I want out anyway.
It's an easy out, right? So I talked to my dad on that Thursday, and not that, I mean, it's mine now. It's not his anymore, but I'm like, out of respect, like, hey, Dad, this is what I want to do.
Is it going to break your heart if I do this? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Just wanted his blessing, not so much his permission. He said, hey, I want you to talk to my friend in Minneapolis, my friend in Wisconsin, and my friend in Jersey. I want you to see what they all think and if they think you're making the right move. So I did. I called those 3 guys and they all said, yeah, man, this is, you're small. Like they were all bigger franchisees with Perkins. They owned 5 stores, 10 stores, 20 stores. I had 1. It was easy for me to get away, to be flexible, to do what I needed to do. So they all gave the blessing. So then I had my dad's blessing.
You also don't want to regret it. You want to make sure, am I making a mistake here? Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to make an emotional decision. I knew I wanted out, but I didn't have a plan for what I was going to do. So then I talked to my wife, was second, and made sure that Valerie was on board, that, hey, this is the direction I want to go. I want to do my own thing here. And I got the blessing for her. So that was on Friday. So on Friday, I talked to my attorney and my accountant. I said, guys, this is what I think I'm going to do. This is not going to be it's going to be a life-changing decision. That's not going to be something that's going to be easy. I think I can sneak away from Perkins, but
I also don't want to get sued for, violation.
So, my attorney was great. And he did a great job of kind of laying out what the options were in front of me. And then that Saturday, I called my general contractor, my painters and things like that. And we went one more week of operating with to-goes, but on April. So I think the governor shut us down on March 15th. And on April 1st, we fully closed and fully began the remodel, heading towards where we are today, without even having a name of the restaurant, without even having a menu. And we had a lot of fun amongst my family sitting at the table.
You had a lot of time.
Yeah, we did. Right? And we used it. And it was our project that we did during COVID. I love this. Well, we picked the name first, and we really wanted the name to be something that was a geographic indicator, without being specific to just Sandusky. We wanted it to be a little bit bigger than that. And we looked at Great Lakes Pancake House. We wanted to stay with Pancake House because that's what people knew us as. So then we wanted a geographic indicator to go with that. And because we didn't want to alienate any of our guests that we'd already built up, but we really wanted to appeal to a younger audience. And really, in particular, we wanted to appeal to women from, 15 to 45. And Perkins really skewed with an older demographic. And we really wanted it to hit that younger demographic. We really wanted the name to be a part of that. And we wanted Pancake House to stay there because we didn't want to lose any of those guests. But we wanted to have that geographic indicator, and, you could do Great Lakes, you could do Lake Erie Pancake House, you could do Erie Pancake House, although that sounds weird.
It all sounds weird now.
Well, here, get this. This is one that would have really freaked him
Perkins
out.
Township Pancake House.
Perkins Township Pancake House. Yeah, you saw where I was going there, right? I mean, we completely could have done that. And of course, it would have gone to court. But of course, I think we would have won because we truly are in Perkins Township. I mean, I'm a graduate of Perkins High School. I mean, it would be hard to
argue that,
to get around that. But honestly, I wanted to separate myself from Perkins. Yeah. And I didn't want, I have no ill will towards them. And they do a fine job, but I really just wanted to go my own direction and do my own thing. And I think we did well. We picked Sandusky Bay because we wanted it to be a larger geographic indicator. And really, you think about Sandusky Bay Conference, or you think about
sports, yeah.
Tampa Bay.
There's so many communities that line Sandusky Bay, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we wanted it to be all about that. So that's where we picked the name. And we started with that. Then we did the logo and we had all these logos we were looking at and how we were going to do that. And then we really started to hone in on the pancake recipe because I couldn't use the Perkins recipe. And honestly, you had to buy a product from Perkins anyway that made it proprietary that I couldn't do. So we had to create our own pancake recipe. And then we did all that. It was fantastic fun. We ate a lot of pancakes during COVID because I kept tweaking it until we finally got it right. And then my brother, Rich, who's a doctor down in Indianapolis, he is also a chemistry major. So he helped me take the recipe from small into large batch size because we'll make 25 gallons at a time when we're prepping it up. Well, how do you take a 1 gallon recipe and multiply it? I mean, it's not as easy as just doing the math. So, you had to tweak certain things. And
nice to have a chemist in the family.
It was nice to have a chemist in the family. My sister helped me with all the decorating. She's a decorator. So, as pretty as our store is, it's all because of my sister, Colleen. She helped us with the yellow color and the boldness of it. And, the whole feeling when you walk in the door comes from her design. And she did great with that. My daughter, Caroline, did all my social media, set up everything with that. And to this day, I'm telling you, that's a huge part of our success.
Big part of it. Yep.
And, we really just did a great job with that. And all that groundwork that she did, whether it was with Google or with Instagram or with Facebook, it just really laid the groundwork for everything that we've been able to grow upon today. My daughter, Allie, was integral in the coffee part of it. I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't get it. But remember I said my target market was women from 15 to 45. Allie was a 20-year-old at the time drinking coffee that I didn't know anything about. So she helped to do all that. Valerie did so much with the flowers and the landscaping. It truly, when I tell you it was a family event, a family thing, it truly was. And what a great story for something like that from COVID to be such a negative, to be really
something beautiful came out of it.
Yeah, something beautiful came out of it. Absolutely.
I want to talk about the mantra, the eat, drink, think local, because that's something that I feel like your business has really embraced and something that you do differently than a lot of restaurants. We do have a lot of franchises and chains and things like that. And of course, there are a lot of great local spots as well. But you guys really have embraced the partnerships that you have with other local businesses. So let's do some shout outs. Who have you partnered with and how are they contributing to the atmosphere at your business?
Yeah, I mean, you think about, when you travel, when you're with your family, typically when you arrive to your destination, you want to find that great local place, right? You don't, you can go to a chain restaurant anywhere. And a lot of times when you're traveling down the highway, you're going to hit that chain. But once you arrive at your destination, you really want to find the cool place that.
Yep. What's special about that location? What do they make really good?
Right, right. And then to lean into that even more, you want to be able to sample the local fare. Like when I was doing the menu and I told my sister we were going to have perch and eggs on the menu, she's like, that's disgusting. Who in the world is going to order perch and eggs? We sell a ton of perch and eggs. Yeah, absolutely. Because people are up on Lake Erie. They want to get perch. So, I mean, there's so many of them. I'm afraid to list them here because I don't want to
miss anybody.
Leave anybody out.
Yeah.
Storm Mountain Coffee out of Huron. Ruth Packing does our bacon and our ham. Toff's is just huge. I mean, Toff's buttermilk is such a great quality buttermilk. And I know people don't. People know it for Toss for their ice cream.
Ice cream, right?
Their buttermilk is out of this world because honestly, it has a very high percentage of butterfat, which makes the pancakes taste better. So, I mean, they're a huge local partner. Bubba Rock out of Bellevue doing our meat and our sausage. And we do as much as we can with as many as we can. And we seek out so many of them because we want people to know that if they come in and they're supporting us, they're helping us support all these other local businesses that we support. And it's just a win-win for everybody. And especially going back to COVID, there was a huge thrust for supporting local and helping all these small local businesses. And it was really the right timing to have the right mantra at the right time. And it really helped us pick up a lot of momentum out of the gate. And, it's just a fantastic, fantastic way for us to go.
And you hear, a lot of people talk about farm to table and eating things that are sourced locally. And that's really a big part of it as well. I mean, you mentioned Toff Dairy, right? Like that buttermilk, part of the reason that's so amazing is because that came from a cow that was, just the next town over nearby. And it got, you know what I mean? Like it got to you in such a quick amount of time and full of butterfat.
But that's what, I mean, you're not eating pancakes every day. So it's okay to have some great pancakes every day.
You got to have really rich, buttery pancakes.
Yeah. All right, so here, now I brought up the list because I don't want to leave anybody out. Firelands Winery with their Brut Champagne, Everwild with their bourbon, Ohio Vodka, Snavely Sugar Shack. They're out of Republic, Ohio, the cutest old couple in the world that does our pure maple syrup. Manuela's Cookies, Peerless Ovens. So we're buying the ovens from the company right here in Sandusky, Ohio. Right? Roots Chicken out of Fremont, Contrarian Tea. This guy hand ties every bag of tea that we go through. Twin Oast. We don't sell a lot of beer, but we sell a couple. They do a great job. But their root beer we have on tap. It's fantastic. Christina's Creations. This young lady who graduated from Yehovah last year who's starting a baking company. We're able to help her out. Breckenridge Kitchen Equipment right there in Huron. They do a great job. Puckrin's. We do this great street corn omelet in the summer. It's fantastic. Bergman Orchards. We do peach with them in the second season of summer, and then Corey Hill with their apple cider. So I mean, just those are all great local partners that we use, and it just makes us special. It makes us proud, and we're always seeking more local partners wherever we can find them.
Well, and I also think, again, you mentioned some of those unique menu items, right? You're probably the only breakfast place that I've ever heard of that also has cocktails. I mean, you said you don't sell a lot of beer, but you do because you're open through lunch, sure. And that you have on site an amazing bakery. You have an amazing baristas to make fancy coffees, and you can get cocktails. I mean, talk about your menu a little bit because it's really unique.
Yeah, the mimosas and Bloody Marys are what we're most known for on the alcohol side of it. And, coming off of Bike Week last week, we sold a lot of Bloody Marys. The bikers aren't getting mimosas, but we're selling a lot of Bloody Marys.
Okay.
You go back to the target market of what we were targeting when we first started down this road, trying to hit women 15 to 45.
We like to brunch.
And you do. You want the mimosas, and we have different mimosas. We have lemonade based mimosas, and like right now we have a strawberry lemonade mimosa. We have blue raspberry lemonade. I mean, just traditional mimosas. We just keep mixing it up, and we have seasonal things that we bring in for the menu. And then we wanted everything to be picture worthy. And that's where the coffees came in, because we knew that the younger generation was going to post photos of everything. So everything we make, we want it to be photo worthy. And the coffees are just, out of this world, whether it's a s'mores coffee or the Buckeye coffee or the caramel macchiato. Everything should be made in such a way that someone's going to be like, wow, when they get it. They're going to take a picture. They're going to say, I'm at Sandusky Bay Pancake House, and this is my coffee. And it really has worked out great for us. The menu itself, the food items, really just trying to be unique. How do you weave in the local ingredients with all the unique things that we do? We can put the cooker stuff on there now. And
you're not just pancakes, even though pancakes is in the name, you're so much more than pancakes.
So much more. And, people come in and somebody grabbed the menu the other day and they turned it over. They looked at both sides like, what is this place? The Cheesecake Factory? And I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll take that. That's a compliment. So, that means that we have a big selection, and we're not going to have anybody that rejects us, because we do have the best pancakes in the world, but we also have these great omelets. Bacon and eggs is still the number one seller, will always be the number one seller. Chicken and waffles are out of this world.
Yep.
The cooker items sell really well, whether it's the fried green tomato Benedict or the cooker chicken tenders on top of the chicken and waffles. We have the cooker biscuits, like you mentioned. So we really just have so many unique items. We've got this great maple butter that goes on top of the steak. The steak, of course, from Bubba Rock. The maple butter is using that Snavely's pure maple syrup. So, again, we weave the local partners into the recipes wherever we can. And now you can come in and get a steak and eggs at the Pancake House with this great maple butter. And it's something you can't get anywhere else.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier, Steve, about the social media presence and about everything being photo worthy. You have really prioritized your social presence. How do you keep that online energy aligned with the in-person experience? What do you think? Why do you think that is so important?
Yeah, what started with my daughter Caroline, we pass it on to Jamie Barron. She does our social media for us now, and it's a great job for her. I think it fits her lifestyle and her schedule with her young kids, so it's flexible enough for her to be able to do that, and she does a great job with it. And whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok's our fun one. We just try to have fun with that. Facebook and Instagram, we try to make a little bit more traditional, but we just try to have a good time. We answer each and every Google review. We take that very, very seriously. And we know that when people come to town, Mom is typically grabbing the phone. This is all stuff that goes back to when you and I were working at the Visitors Bureau together. And this is things I learned, is that Mom grabs the phone. She searches where, best breakfast in Sandusky, Ohio. And we want to populate to that. We want to make sure we're coming up on their phone. And then once we do, we want to make sure that everything looks great. And that is bringing them into the restaurant, and then we have to execute. And that's where my staff comes in. I have the best staff in Sandusky. I'm so very blessed to have them all. We work very hard on a busy Sunday or Saturday. We have like 45 people working at one time. There's not too many restaurants in Sandusky that even have 45 employees, let alone 45 employees working at one time. So we really try to execute at a very high level and make sure the guest is happy, and we keep them coming back.
And, you mentioned the food being beautiful and the drinks being beautiful, but your restaurant is beautiful. You have just done so many things with both the interior and the exterior of that building to make people want to take photos and post them to their socials.
Yeah, that was again my wife's idea on the murals to make the exterior of the restaurant. The interior, that's my sister. She did a great job with that. Colleen, shout out to you. Great job. I greatly appreciate it. And then, Valerie on the exterior, she does the flowers out front to make sure everything looks pretty. And I think we have the prettiest building on Route 250. And then you put the murals on top of that. People are coming to take pictures, and we've got that great chair from Shores and Islands that we partner with you guys with. And it's just how you make things all come together in a small town. And, I think we've leaned into it as much as we can, and it's really paid some pretty high dividends for us.
And I think this is probably going to be so hard for you to answer, but of all the partnerships and your amazing team and, your history and your story, looking back, what are you most proud of when it comes to your role, the role that the restaurant plays as part of Shores and Islands, Ohio?
Yeah, I can tell you what I most enjoy.
Okay.
Maybe that'll answer the question. I love two things. From the guest side of it, I love seeing families come together. I love seeing people come in for that Sunday brunch and they're all together as a family, or, people from Cleveland and Toledo and they meet in Sandusky because they know they can meet there and have a great experience. And I also love seeing my employees grow individually. Typically we'll start kids off when they're 14 or 15, or even if they're 20 or 22.
Are they pointing out parking spaces?
Yeah, well, sometimes they might have to, but we really just watching them grow, and if a lot of these kids will start with me at 14, and they'll stay with me until they graduate college, until they go get their real job.
I was going to say, a lot of times they come back and you are their real job.
Right. It's not our goal necessarily to have them work their career with us, but they'll come back and they'll say the things that you taught me and the things that we learned in the environment. I've never been able to recreate that. They'll come back 20 years later and say, it's still the favorite job, my best job I've ever had. And that, you guys were such a great family to work for. So the thing I would be most proud of, though, would just be my family. And, what we did in that short amount of time is phenomenal. And just glory to God, because I'm telling you, right place, right time, and we're making the most out of it that we could.
It was a team effort for sure, and your whole staff and the whole community getting behind you as well. What's next? What's next for Sandusky Bay Pancake House?
Yeah, so we bought some property in Avon, and we're in the demo phase for there.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah, so we're gonna try for restaurant number 2, being on the west side of Cleveland. There's a chain out there called the Original Pancake House, so we don't want any confusion with the Pancake House side of it. So we are going to go with West Side Pancake Company will be the name of it, and look for that hopefully in the beginning of 2026 if everything goes as planned.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congrats on that. And I know it'll be a smashing success. So where can people find all there is to find out about Sandusky Bay Pancake House?
So we have our website, which is great. Jamie maintains that, does a fantastic job at SanduskyBayPancakeHouse.com. Also Instagram, Facebook, and if you want some kicks and giggles, watch our TikToks. We have a good one. There's 8 million views of me getting a pancake thrown in my face. So I figure that's a pretty good sign if 8 million people watch me have a pancake tossed in my face.
Well, hopefully 8 million people want to come try those pancakes too.
There you go. I like how you're thinking.
I love it. All right. Anything else to add, Steve?
What a great partner Shores and Islands is also. I mean, just, you think about what we have in this area, and you have Erie County, Ottawa County coming together because the guest doesn't understand county borders, and nor do they care. We're the number one tourist destination in the state of Ohio. Project that out against some of the big boys, Orlando or Nashville or San Francisco. We're right up there with everybody else with what we do in our area. And I'm very proud to be a part of it. And you guys at Shores and Islands do a fantastic job. And anybody who wants to question that, I would be happy to debate you.
I love it. Thank you so much for your support, Steve.
You got it. I'll always be there for you.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Special thanks to Steve Schuster from the Sandusky Bay Pancake House. And a reminder that all of June's episodes of The Shoreline are brought to you by the Sandusky Pedal Company. So extra special thanks to them again for their continued support. And of course, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a minute of the action here in Shores and Islands, Ohio. You can also find more information, including past episodes of the podcast, online at shoresandislands.com. We will see you next time on The Shoreline.